And now for more reaction, it's a pleasure to welcome Halie Soifer, the CEO of the Jewish Democratic Council of America, joining us live from Washington. Halie, thank you so much for your time here on i24 News. So the endorsements for Kamala Harris keep coming following that shock announcement by the president. So let's start with your response as the Jewish Democratic Council of America.
Well, we're proud to support Vice President Harris. She's been a remarkable partner and leader fighting for the values that are of importance to Jewish American voters, defending our democracy, defending our reproductive rights, leading in the fight against anti-Semitism, and of course, standing with Israel, both before October 7th and then after the horrific attacks of October 7th. She's been steadfast in her support of the U.S.-Israel security relationship and Israel's right to defend itself. At this juncture, she's made clear the onus is on Hamas to accept a ceasefire deal and to ensure the release of all hostages. She's been clear and unwavering, and she shares the views of President Biden in this regard.
And yet, as we heard in that report, and many have been voicing in this part of the world, there is a concern around the changing stance throughout this war about the way the Biden administration, the Democratic administration, has been reacting to developments here in terms of the war. How concerned are you?
I'm not concerned for two reasons. One, this administration, the Biden-Harris administration, has stood with Israel as Israel has endured this horrific act of terror. I recently went to the White House and heard the vice president speak about the sexual violence that was perpetrated by Hamas on that dark day and her unequivocal condemnation of rape used as a weapon of war by Hamas. She has been completely consistent in her and clear in her condemnation of this violence and in her standing with Israel as it seeks to defend itself. There has not been a change in policy. This administration has been clear. Not only does Israel have the right to defend itself, but that Hamas must be defeated, the hostages must be released, and yes, that humanitarian assistance must go into Gaza to reach those in need. Those have been consistent tenets of this administration's policy, which the vice president shares.
There has been concern, of course, about the arms coming through to Israel from the United States and the delay around that as well. And also, as we spoke about earlier on, the rampant anti-Semitism at U.S. campuses since the 7th of October. What do you think Kamala Harris could do to stem that scourge, that uprise in the amount of anti-Semitic incidents and hate crimes that we've heard about since this war broke out, the war started by Hamas?
We don't have to speculate about what the vice president would do amid the rise of anti-Semitism. We can look at her record and what she's already done. She and the second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, led an effort to an unprecedented strategy, the White House strategy to counter anti-Semitism. It was first unveiled in May of 2023. It's a whole of government approach with over 100 actions to be taken across the U.S. government to combat anti-Semitism. And as anti-Semitism has risen after October 7th, and we've seen it, of course, on college campuses, the Biden-Harris administration has increased the ability to counter that hate. So she has a very strong record on this issue. I can also tell you from personal experience, I served in the Senate for then Senator Kamala Harris as National Security Advisor. I traveled with her to Israel in 2017. I saw firsthand her commitment to the U.S.-Israel relationship and her deep connection to Israel, as well as her commitment to combating anti-Semitism. She feels these issues deeply, and it's something about which I am personally both confident in her, but also proud to support her to be President of the United States.
And Halie, there's much speculation, of course, about the likely VP pick then. Many names are being bandied around. First of all, your thoughts on who is the best candidate, so to speak, for that role. And also Michelle Obama, her name keeps on coming up. Is there any realistic path for her to be involved in a future administration. Your thoughts?
Well, I think it's important to speak about this election, which is just 105 days away, in context. We have never seen a greater contrast between two candidates than we have today between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. They represent such stark differences. You have someone in Donald Trump who is pledged to be a dictator on day one. He has attacked our democracy on January 6th, inciting an insurrection, and he is aligned with and aspires to be a dictator. So you contrast that with Kamala Harris, who has defended democracy at home and abroad, has defended our reproductive rights. I think she should choose someone who will help her win this election, just as she helped President Biden win in 2020, because the stakes could not be higher. And this country cannot afford 4 more years of Donald Trump.
So who would that name be, very briefly?
That is not my call. I think there are a lot of names being floated, all of whom would be strong. I think the decision should be made on who will help Kamala Harris win this election. This is a critical election, and the stakes could not be higher. We need to defend our democracy, and she needs to run with someone who will help her win.
Halie Soifer, the CEO of the Jewish Democratic Council of America, thank you so much for speaking to us live from Washington here on i24 News. Thank you so much.
Thank you.